Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to a little segment where the four of us are going to be discussing the impact that Tom Davies has had on the Everton team recently and the improvements in his form. Like I say, I'm joined by Terry, Owen and James Pendleton from Babbling Blues. We're going to be looking into Tom Davies' form. I'll start with you on this one, Terry. What have you made of the sort of impact that Tom Davies has made? He's sort of come back into the team since Alan got injured in December, didn't he? What have you made of it? Like, sort of role that he's been taking on since?
It's been fantastic, hasn't he? Like, what else can you say? He's answered a lot of questions this season of him. First of all, the first question was, what was his position? Was he advanced midfield, or was he box to box? Was he a number 6? I think we've answered that now. I think AZ Boothroyd had it right in the first place for the England under-21s. He's a number 6, suits him. He's had a run of games there, and he's thrived and excelled, and he looks comfortable. Other questions he's answered is, if he got to run of proper games under a consistent manager and a consistent style, would he be better? Was it him not being good enough, or was it the team around him being in flux? I think that's been answered now as well, that it was, not to say that he was always playing well and wasn't appreciated, but he's looking a better player now with that stability. And finally, he's looks like he's having that season that I think a lot of people asked whether he could have it in the summer, is he going to have that Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Mason Holgate season that they had last season, where they come into their own and they go from young squad player who comes into 2 or 3 games here and there and people aren't sure on, to established first team option, not someone who the fans look at and go, I wish he wasn't playing. Now Tom has had that season this season for me already. It's not even over. He can get better from here still. But now I look at Tom Davies the same way I look at Mason Holgate, and to a lesser extent, obviously, because of the goals that come with it, but Calvert-Lewin as well. These aren't squad players now, fringe players in the sense of the word, that we need better players to replace them. They're established first teamers and not part of the list of people who need replacing. I think Tom's here to stay, and I think he's it's great for him, isn't it? Because Tom Davies as the man has always been popular with the fans, and he is this club. It's only been a question of his ability, and he's starting to prove that now.
Yeah, I said this, I think in a group chat the other day. I said Tom Davies is now starting to become a very decent footballer for Everton, but it can never be questioned that he's a gem of a human being, and I think he proved that even more so today. The day after winning a Merseyside derby at Anfield, he's hanging around with Leighton Baines and giving out free hot drinks to the homeless on Bold Street. That sums up Tom Davies as a person for me.
Yeah, my heart was bursting when I seen that. I was like, seeing Baines as well. It was great. And I remember when I was at uni and seeing him and Baines sort of just sitting on the curb outside Bold Street Coffee, like most weeks, just absolutely class. And I think what Terry said then, well, Davies, just the fact that he's got his position now. And I see him in the same vein, not just the ones that we mentioned there as the young players. I see him as Michael Keane, as Holgate, as Calvert-Lewin, as I think getting there with Richarlison, even Ben Godfrey. I think he's a player that the manager is improving. And I think because of the string of absolute dross we've had in the dugout, you kind of forget that managers are there to improve players. I don't feel as if the last few managers have really improved many players. Particularly, I think someone like Calvert-Lewin's been on his own trajectory, getting a bit better, and then I think he's, to a lesser extent, sort of exploded a little bit under Ancelotti now, or at least he's starting to. And I just think now that the manager is going to improve players, and I just think Tom's the next on that list. And I think Yerry Mina, another one who I think's improved under this manager. So I think that's what he's here to do now. And I think we need to remember that managers can actually improve players rather than just signing shite ones like the last few have.
But is he Valerian Ismail? Could he do what Valerian Ismail's done with Barnsley? That's the question you've got to ask yourself. No, Tom's been excellent, I think. I go back to Marco Silva with this one, when he said after Tom Davies was playing for England in the number 6 role, like Terry was just on about then, AD Buffer played in there. Tom came out after the actual game and said he sees himself as a number 6 going forward. Then Marco Silva completely poured scorn on the idea that he was a number 6, saying he couldn't play their Premier League level, wherever. He's just proved Marco Silva to be even bigger idiot than we actually thought he was, because ever since he's played that number 6 role since Alan got injured at Leicester, I think he's been our best player within that time period consistently. I think he's just been so good. He broke up the play. He can pick out a really good pass, break the lines. I think that a particular game I remember was Sheffield United, the way he ran that show for me when he played in that one.
Yeah,
I think
nobody really that game turned up except him.
there was a good competitive edge to the team, but there weren't any quality on the pitch. But Tom Davies was head and shoulders the best player on the pitch that night for me in terms of quality on the ball. I thought he was excellent, and every game he really stood out of late. I think I'm going to say Abdoulaye Doucouré playing next to him with the energy, the pressing, the closing down, who can do the sort of off the ball work that Tom might struggle at due to his physicality, and that he's really helped him as well. We've seen when he's played next to Gomez or Sigurdsson, he has quite struggled because they don't have the physical edge someone like Doucouré's got. So put Davies next to Doucouré, you get a lot better level of performance from Davies. Something we haven't really seen from Gomez or Sigurdsson. To less extent, Sigurdsson and Gomez, when they played next to Doucouré, they haven't stood out like Davies has, and I think that's a testament to Tom. I think I questioned him slightly a couple of times last season going forward, but he's proved me wrong this season with his performances, and I'm glad to say I got this wrong with Tom. I think he's been brilliant.
I'm happy to hold my hand
I'm
up as well.
glad to see him doing.
No, I'm happy to hold my hand up as well. I doubted him at the start, like towards the end of last season, whether he'd make it here, but he's proven that he's very much a part of this team. What I really like about him, we were discussing like comparing him there to Gomez and Sigurdsson. Gomez and Sigurdsson are more slick players, but what they don't do, which Davies does, is he receives the ball and turns and moves forward instantly. Every time he looks, he's
never shies away from it. And I think with the second goal yesterday, I think that was the perfect example of it, because Michael Keane did really well to stop a ball getting into, I think it was Mane at the back post. And he gets the ball edge of his own box, cop end, the Merseyside derby, doesn't just lump it out of play. He looks at the ball coming towards him, plays a great ball down the line to Richarlison, and then obviously we go on to score. But yeah, I've always said this about Tom Davies. He doesn't shy away. He's not a player who's going to hide like I've seen the likes of Gylfi Sigurdsson do. He's always going to get stuck in. He's always going to give 100% for Everton. That's really important to me. And I say I hold my hand up as well, because I thought when he played against Brighton, and I thought he was quite good, and then I think he went to right back, didn't he, for 20 minutes, half an hour, and he made an unbelievable block, which pretty much sealed the game for us, because it was a certain goal and he blocked it. And I remember saying, I thought it could be a bit of a Matty Cash situation when he was at Forest and he was playing in the middle. And then I think it was Sabri Lamouchi moving to right back, and he's been terrific there. And obviously he got a big move to Villa. I thought we could have seen Tom Davies as potentially a right back, but as I think Terry said, and Owen as well, that number 6 is 100% his best position. I think any quality he's got is perfect there, and the things that maybe he's not great at, we don't need to worry about if he's playing in that position. That's something that I've always said about Davies. I think I said at the start of the season that he was that desperate for a loan. His agent was quick because he needed to get out and play like a full season somewhere. But again, he's just rewritten that entirely. I think he's more than ready for Everton now. And I hope we can see a midfield three of him, Alan and Doucouré, because I think that would be in the games that suits. I think that'd be great. Yeah, we'd never concede a goal. We'd never lose the ball in midfield. He'd always be winning it back. So yeah.
Honestly, remember we've said a few times on these videos that the starting 11 against Tottenham at the beginning of the season, the very first game, you say that's our best 11, but there was one position that was up for grabs, and it was that Andre Gomez third midfielder position. It's Tom Davies is right now. If you waved a magic wand and every player was fit, I think Tom Davies absolutely skateboards into that third midfield position alongside Alan and Doucouré.
I'd argue we need a right back going forward, but I'm not going to put a dampener on it.
But I think what I really like, we talk about like Gomez, Sigurdsson, and as James just said as well, Delphs, and those players have not got. These players have not got.
I hate him.
They've not got the character.
Am I up in the pecking order himself?
But some of those players are lacking when it comes to the character, and for all the Tom Davies, at times it looks as though he's quite a limited player. Even when he hasn't had the best game, he's always got the character. He's a character for that dressing room that I don't think some of those others are.
I love the guy. I love the kind of guy he is. I think you've seen it on Instagram yesterday with his stories, talking about
that video after the game. The video after the game.
He just gets it, and that's what I've always said about that. He just gets it. He gets Everton, and you can say it's not important and whatever, but I think every team in the Premier League can benefit from having, if they're good enough, having a local lad in there. I think that's really important. I remember being so jealous of the other lot because they had Alexander-Arnold or Trent, as pundits call him. I think that's so embarrassing, by the way. They call him Trent, but when we had John Joe Kenny at right back and I had him, I was green with envy. But I think that's really important for us, just having someone who gets it and someone who feels what the fans feel when we don't play well.
I think that reaction video afterwards, though, was unbelievable from Tom Davies. If anyone hasn't seen that, definitely go and find that because it's absolutely unbelievable content. Whatever way you look at it.
If you haven't seen it, what have you been doing?
Exactly. Yeah.
He's just us, isn't he? He say a few words to him and he's gone up the fucking Toffees. You know what I mean? You've got to be good enough first, and if you're not good enough, there's no such thing as sentiment in football, or there shouldn't be. But he's proved himself to be good enough so far this season. Like I said, that third central midfielder spot at the minute. I mean, the two of them speak for themselves, but the other one is Tom Davies. Is for me. I mean, what a fella, and he's turning into what a player as well.
Definitely, yeah. He's shown that he's got the character to succeed. That's one thing that, no matter, Joe, if he has a bad game or something, he's probably going to have some bad games, but he's shown he's got the character to succeed now, just like Calvert-Lewin has, just like Holgate's shown at times as well. These players are young lads, but they're very big characters. And that's imperative to have those in your dressing room.
Yeah, definitely. They've been at the club a long time. There was a picture put out the other day. It might be when this goes out, but after the derby, there was a picture of Calvert-Lewin, Holgate, and Tom Davies. Basically, not long after they joined the club, they were all very young. They'd probably only just been promoted into the first team from the under 23s, and they've got training gear on with Chang on it. That's how long they've been at the club. They are part of the club's core now. They're not kids anymore. They're not young lads who are just coming in for the real players here and there. These are the senior players. You look around the Premier League and you look at the each team and you go, who's these sort of, not their best players, but who's the sort of pillars in that squad, personality wise and everything else. You can look at West Ham and you can go, well, Declan Rice, someone like that, or Liverpool's, obviously they've got Trent as I don't like that either, James. I think that's a little bit down. But you look at our team and you think, well, Calvert-Lewin, Tom Davies, they're the type of lads who are they're the Everton lads, and the other players, the peripheral players, will come and go. We'll have Hammers for a couple of years maybe, and we'll replace them with someone younger, and the same with other players. But you look at our core group, and they're very much part of it. They're central to it.
I actually said, just to detract from that dead quick, I said on ours this morning about people calling him Trent. I don't mind Liverpool fans calling him Trent, but when Martin Tyler or Jamie Carragher call him Trent, it is so embarrassing. And I said today, no one called Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank Jimmy. No one called Oxlade-Chamberlain Alex. It just didn't happen. I don't know why it happens with him. It's, not good.
Terry's use of Everton lads there is probably the second worst thing I've heard since Richard Keys' proper bloke shout to describe Troy Deeney's prospective move to Everton. Everton lads.
Everton lads.
Is that what it says? Can you edit that out? I'm not happy with that.
Everton lads.
I meant to say Everton lids. Sorry.
Amazing.
What's the Everton lids? It's Tom Davies and Leighton Baines. Poultry coffee.
You know what I mean, don't you? You look at players at clubs and who would they call players who aren't, they're not always the best players, but they're the ones who are always there. And I think they're as Davies and Calvert-Lewin are the heart of the team. personality-wise,
I
if
think
not.
half of the team, but yeah, like you say in there as well, personality-wise, they're the half of the dressing room for me.
Yeah.
You've got to have that in a team if you want to be successful. I think you need to have players who galvanise the spirit of the team.
When you see some of the things they wear, I don't think Richie Keys would call them proper blokes. But
No, they're not proper
That's the
blokes
thing.
like Phil Jagielka.
No.
Oh.
He's even worse than Tim Sherwood with his shouts.
Well, I think that was a good thing. I was like, when you were saying about Tim Sherwood and the kid shout before, I think that was like, I was thinking of Richard Keys as Everton finishing above Liverpool early call thing.
Oh, he was right
From the minute he said that.
Here's an early shouty finish above Liverpool. So that was the year we ended up with Sam Allardyce, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the year I was right. I think he said that right after he just signed Sandro Ramirez.
Oh.
That's when you knew something was about to go wrong, when he started saying things like that.
No, yeah.
Honest to God. But on the Tom Davies front, I mean, he's definitely a player who's going to be here for a long time, I think now. He's proven his importance to this team in a number of capacities. As a member of the dressing room, I think he's a big character. As a player on the pitch, he's proven to be a big character. He's proven to show himself as a very able footballer as well in the Premier League. He's got so much going for him that I think his future is very bright now.
Hopefully, I think, as I said before, I just want to see local lads succeed, because we've not had anywhere near as much as we should have done at the academy the last.
You sound like Tim Sherwood there.
I know it's cliche, but I like to see it. I like to see it, and I think as well, even if they don't make the first team, just getting lads out for 5-10 million like the other lot do. They're squeezing money out of some ludicrous players the last few years. So I want to see players like Tom Davies succeed at first team level. And if they don't, I want to see us make some money on them. So I think that's really important.
I think that's
they'll
guaranteed.
make 10 million on that Nat Phillips.
Oh, he's tragic, him. Jesus Christ. And so is that
they'll get 10 million for him and Reece Williams. Someone be stupid enough to pay 10 million for them.
That's what I mean. I feel like this is the thing, though. Liverpool have always had enough of a squad that they've never had to use them, except in cup games where they can play well against championship teams. Now, you will see them players thrust into the Premier League spotlight. They'll do badly, and their value will halve on what Michael Edwards would probably get for them, because they've been exposed already and people know what they're getting, actually, rather than just, we look good in a cup game, so we'll pay some money for him. He'll probably do well in the championship. I don't know, but either way, on the Tom Davies ones, I just think they're looking very good for, I think what it does prove now that there's time to give anyone who comes into the team at 19, 20, give them the time to develop. Davies is 22 now, a couple of years down the line, and he's proven to be able to hold his own at this level. Players who are at 19 or 20 aren't completely developed, and you can never guarantee that they'll be a success, but they're not fully ready. But when you get to this age, you start to see whether or not they're ready, and Davies has proven that he is capable of this.
If he continues in the trajectory he's going in now, he'll be a really important player for us going forward.
Yeah, no doubt about that for me. I just hope that he can keep it up, because I'll be honest with you, regardless of his ability, I've never wanted a player to be a success at Everton more than Tom Davies.
Yeah, definitely.
Just for the absolute character of the bloke. I just think he's the kind of bloke who would I'd buy him a pint if I saw him in the pub. Just an absolute scouser, basically.
He also followed me Instagram page once, which means he's a legend. So,
which means he believes that Eddie Howe's a fraud.
He must know. He must know. He's onto the clean sheet He was onto the clean sheet mentality before anyone else in that squad. I'm telling you.
He's the one who started the clean sheet mentality.
He was. He said, "Put me DM, and we're going to keep clean sheets." You won't know it. We won't know ourselves with opposition now.
Oh Lord. But there you go, guys. Tom Davies. Onwards and upwards for him. Hopefully. Definitely the case after that result, and as Tom Davies said right after that game last night, up the fucking Toffees. Drop us a comment, guys. Give this video a like. Subscribe for more content, more very upbeat content, and I'll imagine in the coming days as we look back on this with a lot of fondness. And until next time, guys, thank you for tuning in on the Toffee Blues, and we'll see you later.